Hey everyone, happy Friday. It's a beautiful day. We are at the SIP offices here in Seattle. The sun is shining, kind of, but it's going to be a great day. And today we have a special guest. We're super excited to have Shane Collins, who is the winemaker at Rocky Pond Winery out in Chelan, joining us. So we are going to bring him on.
Hello
there, Shane.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I have
Good.
I've got an overlay that's covering up your name. So boom, there we go.
Good to go. Now people can see it. All right.
Yeah, now they know who you are. Okay, cool. So we have this going live, but we're also going to put this on all of our stuff so people can watch it later if they don't have time today to get through this. But we just want to kind of catch up. We love touching base with the winemakers and the wineries and just seeing what's going on. Everybody's getting out and about again. Woohoo!
Yes,
So
we are.
let's get Chelan on our travel list, and let's talk about you first, and then we can kind of get into the winery. I understand you're a fourth generation orchardist, and is that in Eastern Washington?
Yeah, actually here in the Lake Chelan Valley. So my great grandparents came out here in the 30s during the Dust Bowl and settled in Manson, which is where I grew up, which is on Lake Chelan. So they actually farmed a lot of different crops, and then as I was growing up, we were mostly in apples. But they did a lot of walnuts.
Over there were apples.
Yeah, a lot of apples still. So I've been in ag my whole life, was raised on a farm, running irrigation, driving tractors, and really enjoyed that kind of stuff. But I grew up here in Chelan, went to WSU, go Cougs. Didn't get my degree in wine there. I'm a broadcasting major from Wazoo, but went back to the Institute for Enology and Viticulture in Walla Walla and graduated there in 2007. Came back to Chelan. Didn't think that I was going to. I was working for Spring Valley. Was really loving working for Serge down there. And but an opportunity opened up at Chelan Cellars. So I came back and I've been working in the valley ever since. And I've been with Rocky Pond almost 4 years now.
That's awesome. So you're a fourth generation Chelanite?
Yeah. Chelan area. I would say I'm from Manson. I'm a Mansonite.
Okay. Mansonite. That sounds a little different, but nothing to do with the other guy that's possibly in jail.
Yeah. I forget about that. Yeah. But I live in Chelan now, so I'm a Chelanite now.
That's awesome. My husband is a Coug, so I'm like, basically a Coug. I grew up in Eastern Washington too, so that's go Cougs. Very exciting. Okay, so you worked with Spring Valley. I know, didn't you work a couple other places in Chelan as winemaker?
Not as just Chelan Cellars as winemaker, but I started here in 2003 working for a couple different wineries. That's how I got introduced to the business. I was actually working for an apple company on the river right next to where I work now, which is just by coincidence. But some friends opened a couple wineries in the valley, so I started working for them in 2003 and 2004. Fell in love with it. Was doing more sales at that time and a little bit of stuff in the cellar, but I was like, I gotta get more involved in this, and I want to be.
You gotta get back to your roots.
Yeah, so I went to school for it, really thinking I'd be a vineyard guy. Thought I'd be a vineyard manager, but I've always worked for estate wineries, just by chance. So I'm very involved in the vineyards as well, which is where my true passion is, and that's where the wines are truly created.
That's where they start, right? So let's talk about Rocky Pond now. I know that there's 3 designated vineyards that are part of Rocky Pond, right?
Yep, correct. We have Clos Cheval Vineyard here in the Lake Chelan. That's in the Lake Chelan AVA boundaries. It's mostly our white wine and cooler red site for Syrah and Pinot Noir.
Okay.
And then we have Rocky Reach Estates, which is our newest vineyard. And it's about planted out now at about 25 acres. And that's where the winery is located as well. And then there's Double D, and that's the mothership. That's where all the action is, and where we have some more crops as well. But we have 65 acres, and that's where we're producing all of our big reds. Our Stratostone GSM blend, which is Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. The Syrah, a lot of Cab Sauv, Malbec, and Merlot on that side. And then a few other varieties like Cinsault, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Franc, and Tempranillo. A lot of those grapes we sell, though. So of the grapes that we
I was going to say, I don't think you guys are up as far as case production to be able to utilize all of those grapes.
No, so we grow enough grapes to make about 30,000 cases of wine, and we choose to only make about 5,000 to 6,000.
Cases. I thought that's where you guys were about, which is a really nice range and pretty mid-size for a Washington winery. So
Yeah.
Now when the Double D, I've had several wines from that vineyard. When was the first, like, what was the first time you guys bottled from that vineyard? What vintage was that?
The first estate vintage would have been from the 2013. No, it was planted in 2012, 2013. So probably the 2015, maybe some fruit in 2014. That was before I was
Yeah,
involved. Ron Bunnell was a consulting winemaker at that time. But I believe I've seen some bottles in the library from 14, 15 from Double D. So it's a younger vineyard.
yeah.
But there is the Clos Cheval site. There was some Syrahs he was doing from up there, and then white blends we call Glacial Treasure. And those definitely were as far back as 13.
Awesome. And so, I mean, having all this experience, what really drew you to Rocky Pond? Like, what was it that you were like just got excited about? What, you
Oh, a
know?
lot of different things. I'd met David and Michelle when they first opened the tasting room where I'm at now, 5 years ago on Memorial Day weekend-ish of 2016. And they were super passionate. And then I met with them a few more times, and their ambition and passion really inspired me, or kind of re-inspired me and reinvigorated me. And
That's so
David's
cool.
plans and Michelle's plans for the events, but David's plans for the vineyard says, I want to get in on this. So I was super excited. And then also the geology of the area. I'm
Yeah.
a geology hobbyist, I guess. I'm just kind of a
Or nerd.
soil nerd, yeah. And I love dirt, and I love the stories of rocks. I'm really inspired from that from my buddy Nick Zentner, who's a professor down at Central Washington University. So he really got me more interested in dirt. But even back in my WSU days, before I was when I was still a broadcasting major, I met a guy named Alan Busaka, Dr. Alan Busaka. He's a WSU soil scientist, and he really lit the fire as far as all the stories in Washington and the interesting geology we have
We have
here.
so much history, and I think that's the one thing that like a lot of people don't get to learn that much about when they go to wineries. I mean, the soil, there's just
Mm-hmm.
so much going on with like everything that we have across Washington with
Yep.
lava and
Mm-hmm.
just rocks
Yeah.
and
And
just really crazy stuff.
absolutely, and that's really what interested me about Double D, because it's a river rock story, much like the Milton Freewater area, but it's
Wow.
not basalt, which they are down there. It's all
Yep.
granitic, so a lot of granites that come from far as way of the Rocky Mountain area of Canada through these massive floods. We all know the Missoula flood stories, and we're
Yeah.
part of that very early history. And then there's a lot of glacial action up here, and it's just really, really cool. And it's from where I'm from, so the dirt and the soils and ag where I'm at, just I love it. I'm blessed.
Yeah. That's so cool. And so, I mean, this kind of leads us into a really cool program that you guys are part of, and it's been around for a little bit, but your live and SalmonSafe certification. Tell people a little bit about what that is, because, I mean, we're trying to save the salmon, but it actually, I mean, and people wouldn't think, like, what are the wineries doing to,
Mm-hmm.
help
Yeah.
those efforts? What does that mean? Like, what are you guys doing to,
To
help
do
that initiative?
help. Well, we're live in SalmonSafe. So live is a program out of Oregon. It's been around for quite a while, but its acronym stands for Low Input Viticulture Enology. They don't really like you to use that, but that really is what it is. It's
Yeah.
not going out with a chemical-based approach from the beginning. And don't get me wrong, we definitely have to use chemical synthetics for certain mildew managements and things. But we like to take what we call cultural practices look at everything we do first. So instead of going in and blanketing things with chemicals, what else can we do for weed control? Be it if it's just cultivation or hand weeding things. And it's really about keeping chemicals and pesticides, herbicides out of our river systems. And that's really where the SalmonSafe comes in. SalmonSafe is hard to achieve because they have a lot of just their list that they've come up with of restricted use pesticides. You're not allowed to use them for their reasons, and that's fine. They've been shown to be harmful to fish habitat. And with our close proximity to the river, we want to be very cognizant that we're not putting anything in the river through drift or water flow or anything that sits on the soil. So we use a lot of sulfur, which is certified organic as well. We do use a couple synthetics that are allowed on that list, but it's somewhat restricted in what you can apply, but it's really just taking a different look at how you manage your grapes. But even bigger than that sustainability within that program is a look at how you treat your workers, making sure they have housing, they're paid fairly, they have insurance. So all that goes in with that certification. It's a like 80 to 90 question or I can't think of what it's called, audit that we do, and they come out and make sure you're doing what you're telling them you're doing. So for the first 3 years, they visit you every year, and then I think it's every 5 years after that. It's still every 3 years they do an audit, but they're always on site. We have to submit paperwork, which is kind of cumbersome, but it's important, and we value that in our company. But David, our owner, sits on a board called Long Live the Kings, which is about promoting and preserving salmon. So being the river and then the ocean salmon, because he lived in the Seattle area, but just making sure that we're doing things that don't hurt fish, because
Being
they're
good
just very
stewards to the
vital. Being
land.
good stewards, but they're vital to the Pacific Northwest. I mean, going back thousands and thousands of years. So we want to do what we can to help that.
I love that. So do they give you a list of alternatives for other things to use based on what was previously done?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would say
they don't just say, "Hey, figure it out," and
no,
we'll come.
No. They help you a lot, especially during the first 2 years. There's some guidebooks. They have red practices, which are not allowed. Yellow practices, which can be used within reason, and sometimes you have to document, or you do have to document and explain why you would need to use a lot of those. And then the green practices, which are mostly cultural. So opening up canopies for airflow to minimize mildew, making sure you're tracking all your water use with meters, and not over inputting anything. But yes, they do help. Thank goodness.
And also to consumers out there, there is a website for SalmonSafe that you can go on and find out the wineries that participate in that program. So, I mean, if you are very passionate about, conserving our land and, our amount of salmon here, definitely go check them out and support the wineries that are part of that initiative. It's awesome. So, okay, let's get into some wine stuff. So what are you, maybe a new release that you are just super excited about releasing, or is you bottled it, or what is one wine that just gets your juices flowing?
One wine, it's not yet to be released. We just bottled it up in a few months ago in March. It's our 2019 Mourvèdre, single varietal. It goes into our blend, but we were able to make about 125 cases of it. 100% Mourvèdre. I'm super stoked about it. It's great. And
is that going to be for just wine club?
It's
only?
Probably just club. So
okay.
I mean, so get in now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys have I know so many people that are wine club members of Rocky Pond, and you guys are just, if you're a wine club member, you're basically family. You guys have so many things going on. The beautiful tasting room in Woodinville, the tasting room in Chelan, the beautiful, actual winery and production, which is in Manson. Is that, and now the winery production area, is that something people can visit?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. And it's actually in south of Double D, closer to Orondo, not out in the So it's between Chelan and Wenatchee. We are starting, hopefully by mid-June, our Winery Tours program. And
cool.
My assistant, Andrew, is going to be running that. So we're trying to get that slated. We're just finishing up some vineyard development down there that we want to get buttoned up, and then get everything in place so we can start those tours, I believe, in a couple weeks. Those will exclusively be offered to Rock Society Club members initially. So people want to meet, and a lot of that's just based on the numbers we have to still maintain because of this thing we're going through.
Sure.
But you can definitely visit our 2 tasting rooms. Last year we did a series in the vineyard, picnics at the pond, and I don't know if we're going to start that back up, because we're trying to bring people down to the winery more this year, so they can see the vineyards down there and the winery experience.
And then that's where the amphitheater is and where the weddings take place.
That's Double D. So that's the Double D facility.
Okay.
Yeah. So Double D is about 15 miles south, let's say, of Chelan. Another 5 miles south of there is the winery. All on the Columbia River, but in 2 different locations.
Awesome. So when people come over to Chelan and they want to visit Rocky Pond, where are they going, and what kind of experience are they going to have?
Well, they're going to get a very personal hand touch experience with great wines and phenomenal food. So one thing we did in this last year was incorporate a new kitchen and our chef, Austin Harmon. So you're going to come in here and be blown away by the experience. And
well, first of all, just go on to their Facebook or Instagram page and check out some of the photos of the food. Like it'll make you hungry. He is, I mean, it's a true culinary experience. And I think about Woodinville too. I mean, you have such a great chef there. I've been able to go there and have a wine tower and all this great food. I think it's so important because there's not a lot of wineries. And in fact, this is kind of a new thing, I would say, even in the last couple of years, wineries like looking at a culinary program, because you generally, went out wine tasting, then you found, an actual restaurant to go to. But I think it's so important because wine and food, they go together. and you really get a totally different experience with the wines when you have it with food. So what's your favorite pairing?
Oh man, it's the risotto. I can't. I can't think of it. My chef's actually sitting near me here. What's the name of that risotto you do, man? The Forger's risotto. Yeah. So he goes out, and he's got a whole team of people that bring in these amazing. Is it the truffle one? Is that one, or is somewhere else?
Oh, don't even get
it.
It
Is so good and savory, and I really like that with the Double D Syrah, or even the Clos Cheval Syrah. The Double D maybe sometimes is a little too fruity because it's grown on a warmer site. Where I like it really with the Clos Cheval, slightly cooler, slightly I hate saying astringent, but just a little more austere wine, I guess, with the Clos Cheval wine.
That sounds delicious. I want more of that. I was actually looking in the office because I usually have a bottle of Rocky Pond somewhere in the office. And the only one that I had, and I just didn't know if it was quite time to open it because it's 2:00, but I had the 2013 late harvest Riesling.
Whoa.
And yes, I have it, but this is more, I mean, I would definitely, if I had Thai food, I would totally dig into this right now, or if it was just a little bit later. But I'm such a fan of all of your guys' wines, and I see, and I can honestly taste in the fruit the amount of time before when you guys started. I've literally been tasting Rocky Pond wine since like one of the first vintages, and so it's really cool to see the growth and maturity even of just some of the wines. I think they're just beautifully done. And I love the variety because you guys do so many different varietals. It's really cool. There's something for everyone when over at Rocky Pond for sure.
So come check us out.
Pinot Noir. I just had the Pinot Noir. I'm trying to think of what year it was, but it was lovely and beautiful and tasted like Washington Pinot. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, it doesn't taste like Oregon Pinot. It doesn't taste like BC. It definitely has a sense of place. So kudos
to the 2016.
Most likely it was. That's what they were pouring at Woodville. So, well, awesome. Shane, I had such a fun time with you. I'm so excited. I know that we've met in person probably over the last 10 years.
Yes.
But I look forward to finally like getting out to Chelan very soon and visiting everyone. And honestly, this is a picture. You guys can't see it as well in the background, but this is their Double D Vineyard, which is absolutely stunning. So until we meet again, Shane.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And please do follow them on their Instagram and Facebook and their website. They've got some really cute, cool, beautiful videos. And go eat there. Eat and drink. So, all right.
See you here.
We'll see you later. Bye, everybody. Have a great Friday.